transparent pricing is incredibly important. Imagine if you went somewhere, there's not very many places you could go that you don't know what you're going to pay. Like you don't get into that. That's not normal, right? You don't, unless it's like somewhere where like the prices are not on the menu for a reason. And then you're like, okay, well, I understand that this is expensive, right? And you can ask ahead of time if you need to. But transparent pricing in the salon is really incredibly important because it helps avoid miscommunication for sure. It helps people to understand what they're getting into and helps them make a choice of the service that they want. And I think that a lot of people get goofed up or weird about pricing. And I mean, we could do like a whole 100 days on pricing probably, but people get weird about pricing because they have weird money things. And so it's like, you don't get to decide what they pay. They don't get to decide how much, or you do get to decide what they pay. Sorry. Like you don't get to decide what they can or can't spend their money on, like that's not up for us to decide. And so I think that the more transparent you can be in your pricing with your staff, yourself, and your clients, it's the better it goes across the board on all three fronts, right? You know what you're charging because it's appropriate to what the salon needs to be charging in order to be profitable. Great. Your staff understands how and what they're charging so that they can then be effective in charging their clients and have less communication issues, etc. There's no guesswork there. And then the client understands what they're paying for and what they can make a decision based on what they want. And so often people get goofed up. The salon owner can set up this amazing pricing, right? The salon owner is like, this is how much this costs, and great. And then we have the client who understands that, but then we get the stylist in the middle that then has to deliver the news. And it's like, don't shoot the middleman kind of stuff, right? And so it's those weird feelings that the stylist has. And unless we have work through our staff on the holdups and the money and the money mindset stuff that it really takes, like they can wobble at the front desk and that can cost you thousands of dollars by the end of the year if they're like, oh, like that wasn't really, like that was just what? Like what was it then? Like was it a partial? Was it a full? Was it a in between? Like these things need to be itemized and it needs to be clear on the behind the house stuff, the back of the house. Like you need to know that a partial includes, 1 scoop of lightener and a full includes 2 and additional bowls cost. But you have to really know this stuff and you have to use this stuff in order to set the pricing appropriately. But then the stylist is responsible to enact it, right? To run with it and actually charge the person for the extra bowl. And that's where things can get kind of wonky, right? And so we have to, and in my experience coaching salons for, the last, almost 10 years now. I think we're in year 8. And then owning a salon for 18. It's all about money mindset. It's not about if they know what to charge. They know what to charge, but they get uncomfortable in the pit of their stomach because either they don't think they deserve to charge that much. They think you're making too much money, which is very rarely the case. Very rarely the case. But sometimes. Or they think the client can't afford it. And none of those things are accurate or should determine your pricing. And so that's why you must have incredibly clear and transparent pricing on all three fronts. For you, the business, for them, the stylist, and why we're charging that and what that looks like. And then for the client, it's just clear. It's a price list. Like this is what we do. And the one thing that I will recommend, the one thing that they must do before every appointment is you should discuss pricing in the consultation before you start. Like this is the simplest thing. So you can be like, hey, like today it looks like you need a global paint or whatever. You need a platinum card. You need a root touch up. You need this. And I think you can get away with no haircut, but if you want to add a haircut, we can absolutely do that for you. Blah, 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 blah. Right. And that, and based on how much hair you have, I think we're going to need another bowl. So it looks like that's going to price us at about $320 today. If we need the extra bowl, then it'll be $360, or I don't know, right? I'm just literally making it up. Or it's going to be $95. And if we add on the highlights, then, that takes us up to $225. Great. And you just deliver it with confidence. If you don't fail in your delivery, and if your staff doesn't fail in their delivery, people are like, okay. Or if it's, if we're talking about bigger, all these things can be discussed ahead of time, right? This can all be discussed ahead of time, but it definitely must be discussed before you go start to do the work. Because then they're like, 375, what? Like, I didn't know that. It saves you a lot of headaches. And then what I do is I'm like, hey, so it looks like today we're going to be in this range of, depending on if we need an extra bowl. I don't know until I get in there, but I don't think we will. But if we do, like worst case scenario, I mix an extra bowl and then we'll add it on at the end. But we're looking at, 180 for today. And I say, is that okay? Would you like me to go mix up, or would you like to maybe make, in general, what I say, I pause. I've moved too fast because I'm here teaching to you. But what I say is, looks like we'll be about 180 today. Let me know if that sounds okay, and I'll go ahead and go get mixing. And then they go, okay. Or like, you can tell if they're like, oh, that was more than I wanted to spend. And if they're like, well, what would it cost if we just did the money piece and we didn't do like the full partial? And you're like, okay, well, so let's talk about it. Like, what is your budget today? What are you looking to spend? And we can maximize that, because we can do just about anything with any budget, within the realm of what you're looking to get done today. And I just talk about it. Like, you disarm it from the beginning by asking them permission to go do that for them. And then they say yes or no. And it's so simple. So that's like the biggest takeaway that I would train your staff to say, this is what we're looking at. Let me know if we're okay to go get started, and I'll go mix up. And then pause. What we do when we're uncomfortable, or we think they're going to say no, or that's too much money, or we say the word and we're like, I think it's going to be $325. How's that feel? Then we put that on them, and they're like, well, is she okay? Like, is that okay? Is that too much? Like, did she just rip me off? Weird things go through everybody's head with money, but we want to avoid that. We just want to pause, deliver confidently. It's going to be $225. Let me know if you're okay with that, and I'll go ahead and go get started. And then if they go, oh yeah, oh great, that sounds great. That's what they're going to say 9 times out of 10. But if it's something new or it's a big difference, like, hey, normally what we do is this, and that's 165, and today you're looking at 375. So I just want to say that ahead of time, that this is a different service, but like, we're going to get a totally different result. I just want to run that by you before we get started. Let me know if that's okay, and I'll go get mixed up, and I'll be right back. And then you just like wait a second, and she goes, oh yeah, that's fine. Or she's like, yeah, actually today let's just stick with what I had planned. It's simple. You just teach your staff to pause, deliver confidently, and then pause. And you have to do the work first, though. You got to give them transparent pricing, and you have to train them how to do this. This is the biggest takeaway that I can say that has helped me to charge more, so much more confidently. Not only like pricing appropriately. That's a different conversation. That must happen first in order for this to be successful. But it's being able to have that delivery and to pause and not get weird, and to be like, it's okay if you don't want it. Well, people are like, well, no, why do you think I don't want it? Like, you think I can afford it? Or like, what? Zip it. Like, say less. So take that and run with it. Pretend it's your own tip, deliver confidently, and then give yourself a second to listen. Talk less, say less, and let the client tell you what to do next.